News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. A 21-year-old Logan man has been arrested after police allegedly tracked him sharing child pornography through a social media account. Corbin Bindrup was booked last Thursday into the Cache County Jail. According to an arrest report, Logan City police officers received a cyber tip in April from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. It claimed Bindrup had used a Snapchat group to exchange a pornographic video involving a young boy. Police obtained a subpoena and tracked the IP address to Bindrup's residence in Logan. They also tracked an email address associated with the Snapchat username to the suspect. Officers served a search warrant to Bindrup's residence on Thursday. They allegedly seized several electronic devices. The report explained that when police searched the devices, they located several images of child pornography. Jail records show Bindrup was booked on 5 offenses of sexual exploitation of a minor, a second-degree felony. He is being held without bail pending arraignment on formal charges in First District Court. KVNU News Time is 4:06. KVNU weather for tonight. Partly cloudy skies, isolated showers and thunderstorms in the forecast this evening. Overnight low in the upper 30s, and then sunny, warmer, around 70 on Wednesday. And looking at sunny and upper 70s on Thursday. Right now we have 58 degrees. KVNU News Time is 4:07. The weather brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Work with their Cache Valley team to build a stronger, more durable, long-lasting structure for your needs today. Visit northernsteelbuilding.com or call 435-677-7300.
Make laundry a snap with the large load washers and dryers at Mount Logan Laundry. Rather than 8 to 10 loads at home, get the job done in 1 or 2 with their 55 or 80-pound washers and 80-pound dryers that are perfect for sleeping bags, comforters, and other big items. Mount Logan Laundry has free Wi-Fi and drop-off service, plus they're open until midnight. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South.
KVNU News Time is 4:07. As gas prices continue causing pain at the pump, it appears the soaring costs will not be disappearing anytime soon. Gas prices in Utah have reached a new record high as of yesterday, hitting an average of $4.69 per gallon. According to AAA, the average gas price in Utah continues to hit higher than the national average at $4.61 per gallon of regular fuel as of May 30th. Utah's new gas record for a gallon of regular unleaded gasoline was set on May 29th. According to Gas Buddy, the cheapest average gas prices are hitting around $4.57 per gallon in Uintah County. All other counties are seeing prices averaging over $4.60 per gallon. A Forbes poll found that the cost of travel and today's high gas prices are affecting plans for 54% of summer vacationers this year. And the National Institutes of Health has begun a nationwide research project to better understand how to prevent and treat what's become known as long COVID, as well as determine who is at risk. The COVID-19 virus has affected millions of Americans, but most people have recuperated from the illness, at least initially. However, doctors say thousands who thought they were done later develop long COVID, weeks and even months after the initial symptoms are gone. Long haulers, as they are called, often experience heart and lung problems, fatigue, and cognitive issues like brain fog, according to NIH neurologist Dr. Walter Korasheth, a co-director of the study.
We really don't understand why that is occurring. So the Recover Initiative, which is called Researching COVID to Enhance Recovery, is trying to understand why this is happening, and with that understanding, develop treatments that can help these folks.
The University of Utah is one of more than 80 sites in 30 states that are part of the study. People of all races, ethnicities, genders, ages, and locations are needed To volunteer, look online at recovercovid.org. KBNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Cache Valley. Close to it all, but just far enough away. We've always had our own way of doing things, and we're proud of it. And our transit district is paving the way to keep that spirit alive. CVTD is forging the path to help fuel the economy, from helping your neighbor get to work to clearing up the commute time traffic. We drive the economy, and CVTD drives us. Visit cvtdbus.org for service information.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in Philadelphia. Local time is 3:05 p.m. and the temperature is 67 degrees. At this time, you are now free to use your cellular devices.
You know that feeling when you get to turn your phone on after the plane lands? You can have that feeling every time you drive. Make sure your cell phone is stowed away whenever you are behind the wheel.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. In the wake of recent mass shootings, Democrats in the most competitive Senate races this cycle are avoiding specific policy demands. Also, accurate coronavirus infection numbers are hard to come by these days thanks to home tests and fewer tracking efforts. So how was policy decided? And hockey fans who attend games to cheer for the referees. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. It is, I almost did it. It's been Monday all day to me. It's Tuesday, May 31st. Saying goodbye to May here on the show. Bill Walter in the studio as well. May just zipped by. Still feels, weather-wise, the last couple of days, still felt a little April, March-ish even. But, man, did it heat up fast. I went from the heater on, about half in the car to air conditioning from this morning to this afternoon driving around. So it's just an unpredictable day every day here in Utah. But we did get a decent amount of water over the weekend. In fact, I was blown away by this. The water people in the state measured almost 5 inches of rain at Snow Basin yesterday. And some of that came down as snow in parts of the state in the higher areas. But 5 inches of rain over, I think they said, a 48-hour period at the weather station there at the Snow Basin Resort. We were close to 2, weren't we, Bill? In the last 24, 36 hours, close to 2 inches of rain in Logan?
Yeah, definitely over an inch. I'd have to go back and look. But
I think I saw one.
Especially with that thunderstorm. What was that, late Saturday night?
Yeah. That was...
dumped a bunch of rain.
Beautiful lightning, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just...
Of course, it happens right after I go to bed, so...
That's right.
It's great. Couldn't happen earlier, but oh well.
Well, and it's good news. It as we discussed on the show with the... we actually need to get him back on. John Mayer at the USU is the reservoir guy. That's what I was told when we booked the interview. But it is helpful in that, I think most of us have a tendency to understand in a drought year, to understand things by water levels in reservoirs. And as you've seen, the Great Salt Lake. In fact, warnings going out already. So severe are the projections that even the Speaker of the House got involved in spreading word on this one. But toxic dust storms from the dry lake bed exposed by the ever-shrinking Great Salt Lake are a growing concern. They've already seen quite a few there along the Wasatch Front, but with things, inevitably going to dry out in the coming weeks and heading into the hottest months of the year, that dust is just going to get more and more airborne, and there is some concern about that. There's not a lot that can be done right now at this point to do anything about that other than warn people to, stay inside on certain days. Maybe even break out those COVID-19 masks if you've put them away to help filter some of those metallic particles out of the air along the Wasatch Front. It will make its way into Cache Valley eventually as well. So we might see some problems from that this summer. Ongoing work on trying to figure out how to get those water levels back up. They're not shrinking by magic. They're shrinking because we're taking the water out of the tributaries before it gets there at an ever-increasing rate. And so it's a challenge without a lot of easy solutions. The legislature, of course, appropriated $40 million into what is basically a slush fund that no one's really sure where it's going to go and how. But the goal of that $40 million of taxpayer money is to spend it on mitigation efforts and maybe even development, if it comes to that, to try and boost the water levels in the Great Salt Lake, get it back up. The Speaker of the House was the champion of this, and he's come under some criticism, I think fair criticism, because, a lot of questions about oversight of the $40 million. Who gets to decide where it goes? A committee is the answer to that. How will they report this? Will it be open for public hearing, public review before money is spent? A lot of steps will need to be taken to make sure, that a developer friend of a buddy of the Speaker of the House or a certain lawmaker doesn't, just magically get a lot of development money, and they call that, there, we fixed it. I don't think that will happen. This seems to be kind of a passion project of the Speaker of the House over the last year, Brad Wilson. He's really owned this one, and he put together a work group himself of lawmakers, members of the public, developers, water managers, both retired and active, members of Fish and Wildlife, and just a lot of people came together as part of this work group that is ongoing to try and first understand the problem, where the water is going in the first place. And again, the answer to that everyone knows. We're taking it out before it gets there. Also video over the weekend of giant, huge walls of the cliffs in Lake Powell that are normally, I don't want to get into the geology of this because I always found geology a little bit of a snoozer topic, but the water saturation in those compacted clay cliffs is pretty important. When it dries out, it basically flakes. It becomes just really brittle and a heavy windstorm. And so this huge video over the weekend on the evening news of this huge cliff collapsing into Lake Powell. And that's happening because the water levels are so low that, again, we're within, I think right now, last time I looked, let me check again here, we're within 1,200 feet of the, it looks like we're up a bit. Actually, we're within 1,400 feet now of the point where electricity can't be made. And so that's a big concern. I didn't know this, but electricity generated by those turbines in that dam at Lake Powell, it's, I've always known that dam is just kind of a cool looking thing that you can go visit. Some people go just to visit that because it's really a feat of engineering and was a first of its kind and really is incomparable in a lot of different ways. So it's cool in and of itself, but I didn't realize that the electricity is supplied to Wyoming, parts of Idaho, most of Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and even at times California and Nevada from the turbines there. So if they have to shut down, of course that would be temporary, but still, even if it's just a month, that's a pretty big deal. So there's a lot of concern about this out there, and back to the rain over the weekend and why it matters. Of course, some of this came down as snowpack, which will be water that, holds for a bit longer as the rains come and go. But if you remember last year on the show, we spoke with Dr. Meyer of Utah State University, the reservoir guy, I was told. And he told us that one of the biggest problems with, the open air reservoir style water storage that is used, it's the most common form of water storage in the West. It's the problem with a drought is that you might have a rainstorm or even a heavy snowpack year in between drought years, and so you have a lot of water and it's coming down, and those reservoir levels looking pretty good, which is the case actually here in northern Utah, at least right now. Things look really good reservoir level wise, but the problem is it being the second year of a drought. We already saw a little bit of this last year. We'll see more of it this year. The surrounding land is so dry that the reservoirs are seeping at a much higher rate. So you're losing, I think John told us, it could be anywhere between 20 and 25% of the water in the reservoir is just constantly being sucked out by the dry land around the reservoir like a sponge. And so this rain really helps because it not only, swells the rivers, some of it, again, coming down as snowpack, causes, reservoir levels to rise, but it also saturates the ground. It aids the reservoirs in actually retaining some of that water. So this, I spoke with Utah Department of Natural Resources and the Utah Department of Water, the Division of Water Quality. And they said that one good thing about this storm, outside of it just being a heavy rainfall storm, they said it could not have been more perfectly timed. They said that the timing of this storm is such that this is going to be about a 2-week delay on things drying out to the point where those reservoirs start seeping at a higher rate. And that could really make the difference for a lot of small cities that depend on wells and, those open-air reservoirs for both their culinary and secondary waters. So that was really welcome news to see the rainfall totals and then, again, the timing of this. But this was interesting, and this is where I'll leave things. We know we're going to be dealing with drought again this year. We know that it might not be as bad as last year. It might be exactly as bad. It likely isn't going to be worse than last year. But here is where they left me. And when I saw a comment on this, they said, what would really make a difference is to have this exact same thing happen 2 weeks from now. And I said, how likely is that? And they said, well, weather patterns of last summer and similar things they're seeing this summer build up right now. That heat dome we talked about on the show many times is starting to build up, and they said it's unlikely that we'll see a storm like this 2 weeks from now. If we did, we might actually avert most of the emergency measures that were taken last year by some cities that were forced to do this. There would still be water restrictions. They'd still ask people to be watering their lawns, this time of year only once a week, especially after a storm like this. You don't even need to water that once a week until at least early next week. But it's unlikely that we're going to get that offset. So things will dry out, and we will see cities asking people to be really conscious of this. On the other side, an interesting brouhaha in Salt Lake that has the attention of lawmakers. A fight between a resident who believed he and his family were following the intent of a recently passed law to replace water-demanding lawn and shrubbery in their yard with what's called xeriscaping. His HOA has come after him and said, rip it out or face a lawsuit. The sponsor of the law, Senator Mike McKell, has waded right into the middle of this one and not on the side of the HOA. This is going to be an interesting showdown between lawmakers and HOAs here in Utah after a law that was passed said HOAs cannot stop people from doing this, and an HOA is saying, we disagree. We'll talk about it right after this.
Do you have a nasty weed problem? We have the right person for you. Sir, you work for Logan Extermination, don't you? Can you help these folks get rid of pesky dandelions?
Of course I can help. I am the Terminator. I will terminate those little yellow devils in your yard. Call me at Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
Terminate your weeds and green up your lawn for only $45, based on maximum 5,000 square feet.
Nothing better than a good night's sleep and a comfy chair to sit in. And they can help with both those things at UNI Furniture. A therapeutic mattress or something from UNI's full lineup of Maloof will increase your chances of a good night's sleep. And for the comfy chair to sit in, you need to visit UNI's Chair Heaven. So many chairs at UNI because they carry so many styles and kinds of chairs. And shoppers are always happy when they see the prices at UNI. For a good night's sleep or a comfy chair to sit in, visit the place where there's always a better buy, UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
This Tuesday, April Davis will change the world. She doesn't know that yet. All she knows is that she went to justserve.org and volunteered an hour of her time. Browsing through dozens of service opportunities in her community, April decided to spend her Tuesday evening serving dinner to mothers and their children at a transitional house. She doesn't know she'll be serving a particular mother and daughter who will be spending their first night in this home. April doesn't know that the hot meal she'll serve is the first this mother and daughter will have had in a week, or that the simple smile she'll offer as she serves them will help them realize that things are going to be all right. Which is why this Tuesday, April Davis will change the world. See the difference you can make. Sign up for service opportunities in your community. Visit justserve.org. JustServe.org is provided as a service by The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Welcome back to KVN News for the people. Speaking of drought and water, an HOA-related story that has Utah State Senator Mike McKell wading right into the middle of it, and not on the side of the HOA, which is where Utah's real estate-heavy, I'll put it that way, legislature, more members of the legislature in real estate or development than any other profession. They're usually on the side of HOAs. In this case, not the case. The reason for this, well, the story. There's a man in Lehigh named Jared Hadley, and he decided, after reading about this law that was recently passed by lawmakers and signed by the governor that said an HOA can't stop a person from switching their yard from water intense or water demanding grass or sod to xeriscaping, which can be either low water or in some cases no water. The legislature passed that law, said HOAs can't stop people from doing that. We're a desert state. We should not be required to have lawns and sod if a person chooses not to. It doesn't mandate that anyone do that, but if they choose to, an HOA can't stop them. So Mr. Hadley in Lehigh did that. He saw the passage of this law. He saw that it was in effect, and he said he'd always wanted to do something like this. So he ripped up his sod and some other shrubs that wouldn't survive without heavy watering, and replaced everything with xeriscaping. Water-wise plants, no water plants in some cases, there are such things, and river rocks, decorative gravel. The photos of this that were shared on Facebook and made it its way into many news stories over the weekend, you can see this isn't a this isn't a slapshot job. This is he did a nice job. If I was going to xeriscape my yard, I would do something exactly like this. The combination of gravel and river rock still gives you the appearance of that contrast that most people like of the green lawn with the flower gardens. I've got river rock and water-wise plants in the flower gardens, and then this gravel where everywhere that green grass used to be. He doesn't need to water. He even disconnected his sprinkler system. So that's something Utah lawmakers wanted to encourage, and they didn't want HOAs stopping this type of thing, and that's exactly what one HOA is trying to do. Holbrook Farms has sent Mr. Hadley a letter And this is what got the pictures of his lawn and his story into the news. They've sent him a letter saying that he's going to have to tear it out. But the reasons are hinky, to say the least. The reasons the HOA contends is that, one, he should have submitted an application for approval on this first. He just did it because he saw that the state had said HOAs can't stop you from doing this, which is statute. And the HOA says, no, you still should have gotten our okay on this first. And then the second reason, when pressed on that, mainly by the media and Hadley himself, the HOA came back and said, okay, well, there's more to it than that. They said that he used the wrong kind of gravel. He should have used bark instead of gravel. Or if he was going to use gravel, he should have used smaller gravel or larger gravel. Their story is kind of all over the place, to be honest with you. The statement from the HOA when the media started asking them about this kind of goes all over the place, as if they're reaching for some kind of an excuse, and that this really comes down to the fact that they thought he should have submitted to them for approval first, even though the state says he doesn't have to. That an HOA can't stop him, so there's no need to get approval from your HOA. Now, of course, this doesn't mean no HOA rules apply. If you're going to xeriscape your lawn, you would still have to comply with certain other things, like if your HOA requires, some require at least a tree in your yard. Others require that you have, things of only a certain height or below a certain height. So those types of rules would still apply, but whether or not you have things in your yard that require water or xeriscaping, which requires little to no water, the state has clearly said an HOA can't stop you from making that switch. So when Hadley got word, the first person he reached out to was the sponsor of House Bill 282, which says that both, by the way, municipalities and HOAs cannot have rules that prohibit water-wise landscaping. Senator Mike McKell, co-sponsor of the legislation itself, says, obviously a person who can speak to the intent of the bill, he helped write it. He said, this was inspired by our dire water situation in Utah, the fact that we have always lived in a desert state, inside and outside of extreme drought years. This year, we are in the second year of a drought, and that is serious. He said, we're in a state that is also growing, and that's not sustainable without making improvements and changes to the way we live and use water. McKell says he thinks the bill itself struck an important balance of requiring government agencies and HOAs to allow people who want to conserve the legal protection of doing so without, facing something exactly like this from their HOA. He says the point of the law was, quote, to make sure that if somebody's got a good plan that includes xeriscaping, let's make sure their HOA or their city can't stop them. So McKell is being extremely clear on the intent of the law. The HOA is saying, I guess we're ignoring that, and says, but he should have submitted it for approval. And here's the kicker. Holbrook Farms says that even if Hadley had submitted the xeriscaping design for approval, they would have denied it. Where this goes from here, I don't know. McKell has kind of fallen silent at this point. He's the sponsor of the law. The legislature, of course, can clarify this in a special session or in the upcoming general session in January 2023, and we haven't heard more from him. I did shoot out an email asking if there had been any developments or conversations with the HOA. The HOA is still saying Hadley needs to tear it all up, and I don't know what they want him to do on that. The HOA itself, Holbrook Farms, says that they aren't against xeriscaping or zero water, or they aren't against xeriscaping, but their own rules say that landscaping material that uses zero water is, quote, forbidden from being substantially used, including concrete masonry products. There's a whole list of things here, slab, slate, rock. So basically they're saying the HOA's own rules, well, I'll put it this way. The HOA's own rules are actually in violation of state law at this point. It is the HOA in this situation, at least, who is breaking the law, not Hadley, the homeowner. Their own rules say that xeriscaping, and here's what they're really not saying out loud, the HOA, is their own rules say that xeriscaping cannot make up more than 25% of your front yard. So the HOA will allow people to water-wise 25% of their front yard. The other 75% apparently has to be using a lot of water because that's what the HOA has decided. For McKell, the sponsor of the bill, he has again said very bluntly that the bill is clear, the law is clear, the intent of the legislature in passing this law and in the governor signing this law is very clear, and that there's not a lot of wiggle room for the HOA here. All of this sets the stage for what Hadley has not committed to yet, but has said he is exploring, which is a lawsuit. He may have to lawyer up and challenge his HOA in order for a judge to tell the HOA they're in violation of state law. This type of thing is going, I think, to be really interesting as we adjust and make these changes. It's going to be hard in a lot of ways, but something like this shouldn't be hard. This should be a no-brainer. 753-5868. We'll be back on the other side of these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:36. The news is brought to you by the Duck Hunter. The Office of Utah Treasurer Marlo Oaks hosted an awards banquet to honor the winners of the Spring 2022 Utah Stock Market Game, which included students from Edith Bowen Laboratory School on Friday, May 20th. The Edith Bowen team, composed of Matthew Mortensen, Anderson Siemens, Ethan Hamilton, and advisor library media specialist Vaughn Larson, placed second in the elementary school division. Over 3,200 students from across the state participated in the 10-week simulation of Wall Street investing games that provides a framework for Utah students to learn about the U.S. economy and financial markets. The students competed in elementary, middle, and high school divisions. Oak said the stock market game is an effective tool that helps students understand fundamental stock market dynamics, how future revenue and earnings growth expectations drive stock prices, the risks involved in short-term market fluctuations, and other investment concepts. During the stock market game, the teams invest a hypothetical $100,000 in common stocks and diversified investment funds traded on major exchanges and are ranked based on the ending value of their investment portfolios. On Friday, Governor Cox joined U.S. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland and officials of the Navajo Nation to sign a federal reserved water rights settlement agreement. The agreement recognizes and protects the reserved water rights of the Navajo Nation and will bring clean drinking water to the Navajo people in Utah. The signing ceremony took place at the Navajo Nation Welcome Center in Monument Valley. The agreement, which has been in dispute for 18 years, was also signed by Jonathan Nez, president of the Navajo Nation, and Doreen McPaul, Attorney General of the Navajo Nation. Also on hand for the historic signing were Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, Senator Mitt Romney, representative of state and federal agencies, and officials of the Navajo Nation. The settlement recognizes a reserved water right of 81,500 acre-feet of water for current and future use by the state of Utah. And newly released court documents show a 12-year-old girl who shot 3 people at an eastern Idaho junior high last year will remain in juvenile detention until her 19th birthday, or until a review board deems her rehabilitated. EastIdahoNews.com reports the 6th grader was charged with 3 counts of attempted murder after she shot 2 students and a custodian at Rigby Middle School. All 3 victims survived. Though the shooting was widely reported, the details about the case remain sealed for months. EastIdahoNews.com sued under the Idaho Public Records Act for access to the records. Last week, a judge ordered some of the court documents be released. KBNU News Time is 4:39.
Did you just build a home or remodel your current home? Well, if so, John at the Duct Hunter says you should have your heating ducts cleaned as soon as possible and change out to a high-quality furnace filter. The dust from construction, sawdust, drywall, and more is sitting in your ductwork. Your furnace filter's probably clogged. You'd be surprised what John has found in air ducts, toys, construction debris, and rodents. Let the Duct Hunter clean the ducts today. Call for a free consultation. The Duct Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
KBNU weather for tonight, partly cloudy skies, isolated showers and thunderstorms this evening, low in the upper 30s, and then sunny, warmer, high around 70 on Wednesday, sunny and upper 70s on Thursday. It's been to 60 degrees. Right now it's 58 at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Roof Rescue. Even if you're denied by your insurance company the first time you receive a quote to fix your roof, a free reevaluation can be made. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free consultation. That's roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind. For more details on these and other stories, visit cashvalleydaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Dina Milligan bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of Edward Jones. Equities finished lower after seesawing from negative to positive throughout the day. News over the weekend on another tranche of economic sanctions against Russia targeting oil supplies has sent crude oil prices higher and further weighed on investor sentiment as higher oil prices put upward pressure on inflation. Interestingly, Bitcoin, often seen as an investor risk gauge, is sharply higher today and moving back above $31,000. On the international front, European and Asian stocks are mixed as inflation in the European area hits another record high. U.S. equities closed lower today. The Dow Jones closed down 223 points at 32,990. The Nasdaq closed down 50 points at 12,081, and the S&P 500 closed down 26 points at 4,132. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot closed down $5.71 at $302.75. Lowe's down $4.33 at $195.30. Nucor down $5.28 at $132.46. PepsiCo down $4.02 to $167.75. Thermo Fisher down $4.78 to $567.57. Walmart up 15 cents at $128.63. Zions Bank was flat at $57.04. And Northrop Grumman closed down $2.79 at $467.97. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice, with offices located in Providence, Smithfield, and Logan. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
This is Zach with the HSA Depot. In partnership with Helping Hearts and Hands, we're proud to present our annual charity golf tournament at Birch Creek Golf Course. It will be a morning full of food, fun, and sun. You or your company can sponsor a team, or a hole, or both. All proceeds go to Helping Hearts and Hands charity to lift those with major medical misfortunes. So break out your clubs Friday, June 10th, and help local families in need. Visit lmhhh.org to register. That's lmhhh.org.
Wilson Motor Company.
Hi, this is Chris Wilson at Wilson Motor Company. If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, now is the time to buy during our Memorial Day sales event. We have reduced the prices on over 140 pre-owned vehicles with over 120 4x4 trucks and SUVs. We can help you find the right vehicle. Check out our inventory online at wilsonmotor.com or drop in for a test drive at one of our 2 great locations.
Wilson Motor Company. We make car buying easy.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Everything you're about to hear can be found at conservewater.utah.gov, but inspired by a caller during the news break. Caller said, and the caller's getting at something here that I think, I don't know, I'm kind of harsh. I think we should actually adopt, water shaming when you see, especially if it's a public building, but even a business or an individual, I guess we have to be careful about that. You don't want, to create bad blood in the neighborhood. We want to be neighborly and friendly, but sometimes I see things happen where I think, we should call that kind of thing out, especially as we, become more aware right here in the drought, obviously, but hopefully this sticks around post-drought if the drought ends, and it will eventually. Then, hopefully we have wrapped our heads around the fact that our water use is unsustainable with the growth we're expecting, the number of children who will be born in this state every year for the next, for the foreseeable future. Our water use is unsustainable. So we have to change something, and you do see a lot of abuse. Caller on the line there during the news break said that this was something he saw I believe, just this morning coming in. Obviously it had rained heavily for the last 3 days here in Cache Valley. And he said coming into the valley early this morning, coming down, from the canyon from Wellsville, passing the USU farm out there on the highway, and they had their irrigation system going. Unless they're doing something that specifically needs it, that was probably an oversight. And irrigation systems on farms use a lot of water. Things like that really shouldn't happen. When we've had this much rain, it was probably not necessary for that, I assume, automated field watering system to be running. So that's a great example, and I appreciate a caller, mentioning that. I got frustrated. I didn't complain, but someone else did before me, and I was glad of it, that my own city had a bunch of sprinklers at the cemetery and on some of the park strips running at like 3 p.m. last July. It turns out it was an oversight. They didn't know that, but they wouldn't have known probably for a lot longer if someone hadn't called and said, hey, why are you watering at the time you're not supposed to water in a drought year? I also have seen, right in downtown Logan, the water systems running at certain businesses that have the very unnecessary green lawns out in front of the building every other day, which you're not supposed to be doing. And I know how this works. Sometimes it's just a simple matter of whose responsibility is that, or maybe I actually last summer heard about this. There was a business here in Logan that was freaking out about it themselves. The person who had installed the sprinkler system in the building was no longer even in the valley or someone they could contact. Their maintenance people had never learned the system. They didn't know how to change it. They didn't know how to shut it off, and they were worried someone was going to complain. We all need to be a little flexible and forgiving on all this, but we also all need to start absorbing a lot of this and making sure that it changes our own behavior. One of my pet peeves my entire life, outside of a drought, I hate waste that's just because someone's feeling lazy. That's always bothered me. And so I've seen this from family members, staying in hotels with a group of friends when I was younger. We were off on some vacation or something like that. Running the water while you brush your teeth. It takes, I'll bet you burn less than 2 calories reaching up and shutting that faucet off while you brush your teeth and then turning it back on to rinse the brush. But you see this all the time. People flip it on, start brushing their teeth, and just stand there. And if you're brushing your teeth right, you're brushing your teeth for, up to 2 minutes. That's what you're supposed to do, at least.
That's what the ADA says.
That's right. That's 2 minutes of water running for absolutely no reason because you can't be bothered to extend your arm, shut the faucet off, and then repeat that to turn it back on and rinse the brush. Really? Come on.
That's too much exercise for me, though.
That's honestly, this is the excess that when you hear people say that as Americans we've gotten soft, We heard a lot of that post-pandemic. We were asked to put masks on, and everyone freaked out. It was too hard for so many people. How dare they ask us to do this for other people? You look at that and think, yeah, we got soft. If you contrast that with what the World War II generation was asked to do as we fought Nazis, they would roll their eyes out of their heads listening to people complain about the mask wearing last year and the year before. So yeah, I think this is part of it. This is just, I don't think people are doing it on purpose. Some do. I talked to a guy a little while ago that said he liked to blow smoke from his diesel just to make the environmentalists bad. I mean, how dumb. You're shooting yourself in the foot. If you've got children especially, you're dirtying up the place to throw a temper tantrum that literally no one but you cares about. And here's my favorite thing, by the way, a little tip if you see someone doing that. They don't smoke if you know how to shift them right. Just say that. Just drop that. It's funny to see their faces. Anyway, back to water. I don't think anyone's doing this on purpose. I know I don't. I know for me, it's been just kind of a lack of thinking about it. So I've thought a lot over the last year about ways that I waste water, or ways that I could cut. I take long showers. I like long showers. I don't like one way I don't waste is I don't like them super hot. So I'm not using the water heater more than the average person, probably less than the average person. But I do like long showers. And that's something I could easily cut back on. I do at times. I could put. I have a weird thing about dishes in the sink. I could maybe cut my those dishes that won't fit in the dishwasher. By the way, everyone knows this. I think at this point, dishwashers do use less water, even if it's not full. They use less water than washing dishes in the sink. But those pans, don't fit in there. And I could maybe hold off. I could maybe skip a dishwashing, do it every other day to use less water. So, I mean, all of us have things like this, right, that we don't think about because we haven't really been challenged to. And we need to start thinking about that. So, again, conservewater.utah.gov is a great website for this. And here are just some random facts that you can find there. So when it comes to your bathroom, we've all had this problem before too, but that leaky faucet or that running toilet, you have a gasket or one of those little floating valves go bad and it doesn't completely shut the water off on the toilet in the toilet tank, so it's constantly running. Or a leaky faucet, it might seem like just a little drip that if you can't hear it, it doesn't bother you. And
it goes down the drain, right? So it's not like it's gonna overflow the bathtub.
Oh yeah,
or whatever.
And so it's easy to put that off, but that can, in some situations, be 10,000 gallons of water in a year. And I guarantee there's someone out there that has let it go a year. I procrastinate too, but that could be 10,000 gallons of water just running back down the drain or through the toilet a year. So fix those things. That's a really simple thing to do. If it isn't simple for you, it's a very cheap thing to pay to have done. Switching your shower heads. This is one I actually haven't done, but I'm going to now because I didn't realize how much it would save. But you may have noticed, faucets, shower heads, things like that. You can find them. You go over to Lowe's and take a look. You'll see the water sense label. And I won't get into this, but it has to do with some gearing inside and some aeration. So less water feels like the same amount of water for your shower. That can reduce your water usage per shower by 30%, just switching to a water sense shower head or sink faucet or whatever it is. So that's pretty amazing and cheap to do. The typical shower head uses about 2.5 gallons per minute, and the water sense uses between 1.5 and 2. So that's a big water savings every shower. The average shower, by the way, is about 8 minutes. Mine probably been more than 10, 15 even. I'm working on cutting that down. So, and then this is one, I didn't know this either. If your toilet was manufactured before 1995, upgrade it to a WaterSense labeled toilet. That also could save 10,000 gallons of water per year. So just if your toilet is older than 1995, buying a new toilet could save 10,000 of gallons of water a year in each and every home. I mean, this is honestly easy stuff to do. And we all know, about Energy Star water efficient dishwashers and things like that, hopefully. So if you don't, there's some great information there as well. And then just changing your dishwashing schedule. Run your dishwasher once a week at most. Go longer if you can. And as I mentioned for myself, instead of filling the sink to do the pots and pans every night, switch to every other night or every 3 days if you can stand the dirty dishes in the sink sitting that long. These things actually save a huge amount of water, more than I realized, and probably more than any of us realized. There's more information on laundry too, which is a very water use activity that we all have to do, right? All of this, again, at conservewater.utah.gov. So caller on the line here before we go to our last break. Jeff, go ahead.
I had heard somewhere that the city water goes down the drain, and then it goes out to the sewer plant, and then it goes on down around here to the Bear River and on down. So why can't we already paid for that water. Is there a chance that we recycle that water somehow so it's already paid for?
Instead
of let it go down the river, or is it already clean from going out of our faucets, toilets?
I know, Jeff, I know that there is some filtration and cleaning that goes on somewhat before it actually gets dumped back into a waterway like the Bear River. But reclamation, you bring up something interesting, because that's something I think we're also going to have to get really creative about. There are cities in the United States who already recycle sewer water for drinking water. It can be done. It's safe to do. It's never led to a single bad thing happening. It just might be something all of us don't want to think about if it's done. But yeah, reclamation is going to have to be a part of this. We're going to have to be supportive of, experiments on that front. But a lot of water goes down our drains, and it does end up just going back into the system, and there are some energy costs in filtering it and cleaning it before it does that. Why not use that energy that's already being used to put the water back into the system to reduce what we're taking out in the first place? It's an excellent idea, Jeff. I don't know a thing about the technology behind this, but I do know that it's something that we're gonna be seeing more of here in Utah. So thanks for the call, Jeff. One last thing here. I mentioned washing machines. This is interesting. You can read more about it at conservewater.utah.gov. But front-loading washing machines, the newer ones, they actually use 25% less water than the old top-loading machines. Why? I have no idea, but I'll read about that as we break for the hour here. Stay tuned. Hour 2 of today's show right after this here on KVNU Logan.
Inflation at record highs, American-made energy under attack, and our enemies growing stronger. President Biden's weak leadership is allowing Nancy Pelosi and the radical left to jeopardize America's security and put our future at risk. That's why conservative Blake Moore is fighting back against President Biden, Pelosi, and the radical left to create a better future for our nation. In Congress, Blake Moore is working to lower inflation for Utah families by reducing debt, creating jobs, and growing the economy. To better secure and protect American-made energy, Blake Moore is working to increase domestic production, helping America return to energy independence. And as a former Foreign Service officer, Blake Moore knows that by strengthening American military might, we can better protect Americans. It's time to fight back against the radical left for a better American future. Support conservative Blake Moore for Congress.
I'm Blake Moore, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Moore for Congress.
Adams Wealth Advisors' entire team says
Thank you, Cache Valley, for voting them the best financial planner in the Best of Northern Utah competition. Honesty and integrity is the hallmark of Adams Wealth Advisors. Let them earn your trust today.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit adamswealthadvisors.com or call 752-1702 to schedule a time with an advisor today. Please see adamswealthadvisors.com for more information on these recent awards.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
News and talk around the clock.
I listen to you all the time.
News Talk, KVNU Logan, 610 AM at 102.1 FM.